colloidal generators made by Biophysica come in a variety of models. They all put a pulse direct current into water through specific metal electrodes, and in so doing, an etching kind of process happens. At the anode, which is the positive electrode, atoms are released in little nanoclusters, and they, because of the stirring function in our generators, immediately go into the water and are carried away. Otherwise, they would attach onto the cathode or the grounding negative electrode. So that's why it's so important to have a stirrer in between the two electrodes, so that the nanoparticles are swept away into the water for later use. So we use high frequencies to help enhance the zeta potential, the electrical charge, and to ensure that the atoms don't agglomerate rapidly, so that we get extremely small nanoparticles of 1 to 5 nanometers, as well as some ions. Ions are useful also, but we tend to favor the nanoparticles, the reason being that nanoparticles are pure atomic metal, silver. They're not metabolized by the hydrochloric acid of the stomach, whereas the ions they may form silver chloride and silver oxide. So these are perhaps less effective than the nanoparticles. Besides the high frequency and the stirring, another important characteristic of our generators, all of our generators, is constant current technique. We were the first to develop that in our industry. And the reason we use constant current is that when you, the user, select on the control knob a certain level or a certain dimension of nanoparticle, then you can be assured that the current stays at that level. That's what's called constant current, notwithstanding and regardless of any changes in the conductivity of the water. So you might start off with, we prefer reverse osmosis water, with a conductivity of, say, 10 to 12 microsiemens. After a few hours, that conductivity will have risen, and were it not for the constant current, the nanoparticles would become bigger. So we make sure that that doesn't happen with our constant current proprietary circuit. Another important function is the alternating polarity that is in all of our generators. The plus-minus anode-cathode polarity changes every few minutes, so that every 3, 4, or 5 minutes, each anode then becomes the cathode. And in so doing, the former cathode becomes an anode, so that any deposit that got attached to the cathode gets burned off. That keeps the electrode clean for prolonged use over, say, 12, 24, 48 hours. Now, with regard to electrodes, we are going to have a special video on electrodes. We use very large 2" by 6" electrodes rather than wires or rods, which have a very small surface area.